You can build a successful business and still completely burn yourself out. A lot of entrepreneurs think constant stress, long hours, and sacrificing their health and family are just part of the game. Maybe, but eventually, your lifestyle catches up with you. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how to avoid burnout, protect your energy, and build a business that can actually last. What's up, friends? Welcome to Purpose Over Pleasure podcast with your host, Alex Payne. And today's episode is focused on entrepreneurs and those of you who are ambitious, not only in business, but in life in general. Today, I will talk about a burnout. What is a burnout? Well, check this out. About a year and a half ago, I ended up in an emergency room with shingles. Little did I know at the time that shingles come from extreme stress. It's a neurological disorder, and you can get shingles when you experience a lot of stress in life. Your body can react by giving you shingles. For those of you who never had shingles, let me tell you, it's one of the worst things your body can experience. Shingles are painful and they can appear on intimate parts of your body and it takes time to heal. Personally, it was one of the worst and most painful experiences I've ever had. Not to mention that another time I also ended up with an anxiety attack due to, you guessed it, stress. So I had to learn a very valuable lesson. If I don't learn how to regulate and control my stress levels, it will eventually kill me. And I'm here today to share some important techniques I've learned and use now to downregulate my stress levels as a serial entrepreneur. I hope you learn from my mistakes and save yourself some pain, energy, and problems in personal life. But before I share these 5 techniques, please like this video, subscribe to my channel because it helps my channel grow and I'm able to serve others like yourself on this entrepreneurial journey. Let's jump into it. I've learned over the years that something I wish I understood much earlier in business. You can build a successful business and still completely burn yourself out in the process. A lot of entrepreneurs wear burnout like a badge of honor. We brag about sleeping 3, 4, 5 hours a night, working 7 days a week, answering emails at midnight, and never taking a day off. I used to think that was what success looks like. And look, there are absolutely lessons and seasons in business when you have to put your head down, focus, and work harder than everybody else, especially when you're starting from nothing. Sometimes you have to work the long days. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices. Sometimes nobody is coming to save you, and you just got to get the job done. I agree. But there's a big difference between working hard for a season and living in a survival mode for the next 5, 10, 20 years. Eventually, something gives. Your body gives. Your marriage suffers. You stop seeing your kids, your health goes downhill, your patience disappears. You start resenting the business you once prayed you would have. I've experienced burnout myself, and over the years, I had learned how to build businesses differently. Because entrepreneurship is not always a sprint. If you're serious about building something that lasts, you have to think of it more like a marathon. So, step number 1 is stop treating everything like an emergency. That's the big one. Especially when you're a young entrepreneur, everything feels urgent. And sometimes urgency is okay, but when a customer calls, you answer immediately. An employee has a problem, you jump in, an email comes through, you respond. Something goes wrong, you drop whatever you're doing and you run to fix it. You almost become addicted to putting out fires because it makes you feel productive. I know that feeling. You go home after 12, 16-hour day exhausted and you think, man, I got a lot done today. But then you look at what you've done and you realize you spend the entire day reacting to everybody else's problems. That's not always leadership. Sometimes that's just chaos. As an owner, you have to learn that not everything deserves your immediate attention. Some things can wait till tomorrow. Some things can be handled by an employee. Some things don't require your involvement at all. And some problems are only happening because you haven't created a good enough system yet. That was something I had to learn. Instead of constantly asking, how do I fix this problem? Start asking, how do I make sure this problem doesn't keep happening? That's a completely different mindset, let me tell you. For example, if an employee keeps asking you the same question every week, maybe you don't need to keep answering the question. Maybe you need a process. Maybe you need better training for that employee. Maybe you need a checklist. Maybe you need to put somebody else in charge of that area. Because if every little issue in your company becomes your emergency, you're eventually going to burn yourself out. And there's another thing that entrepreneurs need to understand and hear. You do not need to be available 24 hours a day, every single day, to be a good business owner. Your phone does not have to control your life. Your email inbox does not have to control your life. There should be times when you're working, and there should also be times when you're completely unavailable. That doesn't make you lazy. That means you're just creating boundaries and structures in your business. And boundaries actually make you a better entrepreneur because when you're working, you can actually focus. Number two, take care of the machine that runs the business. And that machine is you. Entrepreneurs are funny, we'll spend thousands of dollars maintaining the equipment, we'll service the trucks, maintain the warehouses, update the software, protect the inventory, and make sure every piece of equipment is well maintained. But then we treat our body like garbage. And I'm guilty of that myself. 4 hours of sleep, 3 cups of coffee, fast food, no exercise, stress all day, alcohol on the weekend to shut off the brain. Then we wonder why we feel terrible and we can't perform. I've learned that your health is not separate from your business. Your health affects your business 100%. When you're exhausted, you make worse decisions. When you're stressed out, your patience gets shorter. When you're physically unhealthy, your energy disappears. And when your energy disappears, everything becomes harder. The meetings become harder, leadership becomes harder, dealing with employees becomes harder. Man, dealing with customers becomes harder. Even problems that normally wouldn't bother you start feeling overwhelming and irritate you to the core. That's why I believe every entrepreneur needs some basic non negotiables. You need to move your body. You need to exercise. You need to get decent sleep. You need to eat relatively healthy if you can. You need some time when your brain isn't thinking about business. You need time with your family. And I know somebody listening to this is probably thinking, well, Alex, I don't have time. Well, I understand. I've been there. I'm still there sometimes. But here's the truth, if you don't make time for your health now, eventually, you'll be forced to make time for your health later, like it happened to me in shingles. And usually, it's not a good way you want things to turn out. You don't need to become a professional athlete. You don't need perfect morning routine when you wake up 4 or 5 in the morning, meditate, take cold plunge, drink some $20 expensive energy drink. No, keep it simple. Get some sleep, lift some weights, walk, eat good food, go outside, get some sunlight, spend time with your family. Have moments where the phone stays in another room. Your business needs you sharp, yes. It needs you mentally present. It needs you emotionally stable. And sometimes the most productive thing you can do for your business is actually step away for a few hours or for a few days. Hey guys, quick interruption because I have an important announcement to make. If you're a man between 20 and 45 who is out of shape, feels lost, stuck, undisciplined, or feels like you living beneath your potential, I created a U2.0 mentorship program for you. I know what it feels like to carry the pain, lack direction, struggle with discipline, and try to figure out life without healthy masculine guidance. I also know this truth. When a man is broken, everybody around him feels it. His relationship, his family, his future, and his purpose, everything suffers. My U2.0 is a coaching program for men who are tired of drifting and ready to rebuild themselves from the inside out. Inside the program, we focus on 7 pillars: purpose, healing, discipline, masculine identity, family, brotherhood, and faith. This is not a fake macho content. This is not empty motivation. This is a real process for men who are ready to heal, break destructive habits, build self-respect, gain clarity, and become the kind of men they can actually respect. So if you're tired of wasting your time, tired of feeling stuck, and ready to become the man you know you're meant to be, click the link in the description to check out the program, or go to my website and enter your email so I can send you my free guide on how to find purpose and level up in life. Now back to the episode. Number 3, stop trying to do everything yourself. This is probably one of the hardest lessons for entrepreneurs to learn because most of us started by doing everything ourselves. That's how I started. When you're building from the ground up, you have to wear 100 different hats. I agree. You're a salesperson, you're a customer service, you're a HR, you're operations, you're marketing, you're the guy who solves all the problems. You're the guy cleaning up the mess at the end of the day. Sometimes you're literally doing the physical labor yourself. And it's okay in the beginning. In fact, I think there's value in this, and because you learn every part of the business yourself. The problem is that some entrepreneurs never leave that stage. Their company gets bigger, but they continue to operate like it's still just them and a couple of employees. Now they've got 20 employees, but everybody still calls the owner for everything. That's a recipe for disaster and a burnout. At some point, you've got to make transition from being the guy who does everything to being the guy who builds leaders, builds people who do everything. That's leadership. You have to hire good people. You have to train them. You have to trust them. And this is the hard part. You have to let them make mistakes, because sometimes entrepreneurs don't delegate because we think nobody can do this as well as me. And maybe you're right. Maybe they cannot do it as well as you. But if you never give them an opportunity, they will never learn. And you'll be stuck doing the same thing forever. Your goal should be slowly to remove yourself from the things that don't require your specific zone of genius and skill set. If someone else can do something like 80% as well you are, let them do it. Then train them until they get better, because your time should eventually be spent on higher level things: your vision, strategy, relationship, major decision making, finding opportunities, and just being your zone of genius. That's where an entrepreneur brings the most value. Not answering every email, not approving every small task, not fixing every small problem. Okay. If your company completely falls apart the second you leave for multiple days, that's a problem. You've created dependency, not leadership. The goal is not to become irrelevant to your company. The goal is to stop being the bottleneck of your company. Number four, decide what success actually means to you. This one is deeper than you think. Okay, entrepreneurs are naturally ambitious. That's usually what makes us entrepreneurs in the first place. You hit one goal immediately, you run to the next one and the next one. You make your first 100,000, and you won't think about the million. You make your first million, you think about the 5 million. You get one warehouse, you start thinking about the second warehouse, the third warehouse. You have 10 employees, now you want 50 employees. There's nothing wrong with ambition. I love ambition. I think men should have goals. I think we should push ourselves. I think we should build, create, but eventually you've got to ask yourself, what exactly am I building all of this for? Because if you never answer that question, the finish line would move forever. And you can become incredibly successful on paper while being absolutely miserable in real life. I've met people who have money, businesses, properties, cars, employees, and everything most people dream about, okay, and consider success. But they don't have peace. Their marriages are falling apart. Their kids barely see them or respect them. They haven't taken care of themselves in like 10, 15 years. They don't have real friendships, and they don't even know who they are anymore outside of business. That's not the kind of success I'm interested in personally. For me, success has to be bigger than just money. Money matters, yes. Let's not pretend it doesn't. Money gives you opportunities, gives you options. Money helps your family, creates freedom. Money allows you to be generous, and money is a tool, but you shouldn't become your identity. You shouldn't chase it. So I think every entrepreneur needs to sit down and really define what enough looks like. What kind of life are you trying to create? How much money do you actually need? How much time do you want with your family? What kind of father do you want to be? What kind of husband do you want to be? What do you want to feel like and look like when you're 60 or 7 years old? Because there's no point in building an empire if you lose everything that matters while you were building it. That's plain and simple. And number five, think in decades, not in days. This might be one of the biggest things that experience teaches you. When you're young in business, every bad week feels like the end of the world. Like I've just had 2 bad weeks. And then you can lose a big client and you think business is done. An employee quits and you panic, and sales is down for a month and you suddenly questioning everything in your entire business. A competitor can open up next door and you'll change your entire strategy. But when you've been doing this long enough, you start realizing that business comes in seasons. It's waves, it's up and it's down. You're going to have great years, you're going to have bad years or average years. And you're probably going to have some years where you're just happy you survived. That's part of business. I've had situations in business that felt catastrophic in the moment, but looking back at it now, they were barely a speed bump for me. That's why perspective matters. You're not building for next Tuesday or next month. You're building for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And when you start thinking long term that way, your decisions change. You stop chasing every shiny object. You stop panicking over every setback. You become more patient. You become more disciplined. You understand that sometimes the smartest decision is not to expand, and sometimes the smartest decision is to build cash reserves. Sometimes it's to strengthen your team. Sometimes it's to fix your systems. And sometimes the smartest decision is to slow down for a little bit. That's something ambitious entrepreneurs struggle with. We think slowing down means we're losing. It doesn't. Sometimes you're recovering so you can come back stronger. Think about professional athletes. Yes, they train hard, but they also recover. Nobody expects an athlete to perform at 100% capacity 365 days a year. Okay? It's not possible. But entrepreneurs somehow think it is possible. It's not. And nobody can perform the same way. There are going to be seasons when you grind, and there are going to be launches and expansions and big deals and emergencies and moments where you have to go all in. But that cannot become your permanent lifestyle 24/7. You can't sprint for 20 years. Eventually, you're going to break down. So, one question I think every entrepreneur should ask themselves is, if I continue living and working exactly like this, can I still do it in the next 10, 20 years? If the answer is no, then you need to change something. Maybe you need more help. Maybe you need better systems. Maybe you need stop, stop saying yes to everything and then try to solve every single problem. Maybe you need to spend more time at home with your family. Maybe you simply need to realize that you don't have to prove anything to anybody anymore. And that's really the lesson. I still believe in hard work. I still believe in sacrifice. I believe in the fact that there are times when you've got to go all in and you got to outwork everybody. That's entrepreneurship. But I don't believe destroying yourself is something to be proud of. I used to think success meant working harder and harder every single day. Now I think that real success is building something that can last without destroying the person who built it. Build your company, make money, create jobs, take risks, chase bigger goals, but build your health too. Build your marriage, your family, your relationships, build friendships, build faith, build a life outside of your company. Because someday you're going to leave that business. Maybe you will sell it, maybe your children will inherit it, maybe you retire. Whatever happens, you want to be able to look back and say, man, I built something real, but I didn't lose myself in the process of doing it. To me, that right there is real success. Listen, at the end of the day, one of the biggest things that keeps me grounded in business is my faith. Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. To me, that means business can't become my God. Money can't be my identity, and success can't become the thing I chase at the expense of everything else. When I put God first, it changes the way I look at decisions, pressure, money, leadership, and even failure. It reminds me that my job is to work hard, be a good steward of what I've been given, and treat people right, lead with integrity, and trust God on the process with the outcome. Burnout often happens when we start believing everything depends on us. Faith reminds me that it doesn't. I still have to show up, make the calls, take the risks, and do the work, but I don't have to carry the weight of the entire world on my shoulders. If you seek God first, stay aligned with your values, and build from a place of purpose instead of fear, you'll have something far more valuable than just profitable business. You'll have a peace of mind while you're building it. That's all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed this episode, click like and subscribe to my channel and share this with a friend who's a new entrepreneur and who's on a journey to become successful, because this will help them, I guarantee you. God bless you all. See you on the next one.